Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is 6 p.m. on Wednesday. It is time for midweek Bible study. My name is Pastor Dwayne Hawkins, and we are broadcasting live Omaha, Nebraska, home of the Antioch Baptist Church. We are so blessed to be able to have this opportunity to come together. And I want to formally welcome each one of you into the virtual space. We welcome you.
We welcome you into our church today. We thank the Lord for sending you our way.
Yeah.
And I want to let you know that our doors are open wide.
Get it, Jay?
So join us in the praise. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, and bless His name. We welcome you into our church today. We welcome you into our church today.
Say it again. Say it again.
We welcome you into our church today. We thank the Lord for sending you our way.
Antioch.
Antioch wants to let you know that our doors are open wide. So join us in the
Clap your hands.
praise.
Pat your feet.
And bless His
Yeah.
name. We welcome you into our church today.
Yeah. Da, da, da.
We welcome you into our church today.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Welcome, 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 welcome. I know it's not Sunday morning, and I know we're not in the sanctuary, but I wanted to welcome you to Wednesday Bible study. And I just kind of like doing it with the song. It kind of hypes me up, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the music. Listen, I just sent a text out to Minister Payne, and I said, "Man, what do you think about doing a intro Bible study song? Wouldn't that be awesome? That would be so awesome." So, good evening to each and every one of you. I'm so glad that you are with us on today. Check in. Let me know what your color is on this evening. I am green, happy, calm, feeling okay, focused, and ready to learn. So, how about you? What is your color? Good evening. Glad that you are with us on today. And we just want to take a moment to make sure that we touch base with each and every one of you and let you know that we care about how you are doing. So let us know what your color is on today. I see we've got First Lady on with us. She is green. She is green. Wave to the people, babe. Wait, we see you on Zoom. Wave to the people.
Good evening, good evening.
See, we got Reverend Nelson. Good evening. Let me know what your color is. Hopefully, all is well with you. I'm doing green, y'all. I am grateful for another day's journey. And as the songwriter said, it's another day's journey, and I'm glad about it. First Lady, did you hear the welcome song?
Yes, I did. I heard the welcome song and I saw you jamming out to it.
You saw me jamming out to the welcome song. It just gets me hyped up for Bible study. LaConna, good evening to you. You and Mother are both green. Good evening, Dee Dee. Here, but I'm also at school, parent teacher conferences tonight until 7:30. Reverend Nelson is good. What a blessing it is to see you all checking in, and glad to see that all is well. What'd y'all say? What'd y'all say? Y'all want to hear the welcome song again? Is that what y'all said? That's what I thought y'all said. You got to get hyped for Bible study. Yeah.
We welcome you into our church today.
Yeah.
We thank the Lord for sending you our way.
Antioch.
Antioch wants to let you know that our doors are open wide. So join us in the praise. Clap your hands, stomp your feet,
And
and bless His
Doom
name.
Doom.
We welcome you into our church today. We welcome you into our church today.
One more time. One more time. Yeah.
We welcome you into our church today. We thank the Lord for sending you our way. Antioch wants to let you know that our doors are open wide. So join us in the praise.
Clap your hands.
Clap your hands, stomp your feet, and bless His name.
Doom Doom.
We welcome you into our church today.
Da-da-da-da.
We welcome you into our church today.
Awesome. Listen, I just hit up Minister Payne and I was talking to him about the song, and we just might fool around and get us a virtual Bible study opening song. That just gets me hyped for Bible study. Good evening, Dee Dee. You walking the halls of the school? Did you get hyped up for Bible study with the welcome song?
Oh yes, oh yes. I'm down here partying in the gym right now in front of all my staff and students.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to fool around and get the version with
See that?
Rhonda doing the dance.
There
Shout
they
out
are
to
behind me.
there they are. There they are. Big shout out to Rhonda K. Jones, who did the dance for the welcome song. Today's her birthday. Big shout out to her. And to Minister Payne, Minister Justin Payne. We love you, man, at the Antioch Baptist Church. I sung the song into the phone,
Oh,
and he
where?
created the church welcome song off of me singing it into the phone. That was just crazy. I couldn't find it
You.
anywhere, and all I could do was just sing it into the phone with my old raggedy singing voice. And he took that and he created it just as if it was recorded for the first time. Big shout out to Minister Justin Payne. And we're gonna see if he can do it one more time. Uh uh oh. Just this in from Minister Justin Payne. Sure, I'd be down for the challenge. Bible study intro song all the way. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, if you haven't already done so, let us know what your color is and check in. Uh, we're getting ready to do the opening prayer and get started with our lesson. And I just wanted to give a few extra moments for people to come on into the room. Come on into the room. First Lady put the Zoom link in the chat. Thank you very much. You can also find it on the church Facebook event invite. I think you can also find it on my personal page. There's an event invite on my personal page, and you can find it there. And what a blessing it is to be present with each and every one of you, my brothers and sisters, Christian friends. So just one announcement, just one announcement. Wednesday, February the 28th is our normal monthly day of fasting and fellowship. We will be fasting 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And at 6:30 p.m., we will have a abbreviated fellowship dinner at the church. And then at 7 p.m., we'll have our annual church meeting. 7 p.m. Wednesday, February the 28th, we will have our annual church meeting where we discuss the business of the church and some things that the church has got to give their say so on, and then some other things that I need to inform the church on in terms of our agenda for the year, our plans, and special initiatives that we're working on, and some encouragements I need to make. And so we'll be doing that on Wednesday, February the 28th, fasting 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. We'll have an abbreviated fellowship dinner at the church. You can just come on down and get you something to eat. And then we will begin our yearly meeting um, at 7 p.m. at the church. This will not be live streamed since we need to conduct some official business. So it will not be live streamed, and we will not have our normal fellowship time. And so this one is just for members only, just members only. Well, I suppose you could come in fellowship, but before we had the meeting, but the meeting is for members only. Who's the meeting for? Members only. All right, good people, we are ready to begin our next phase of unpacking our purpose. And so hopefully you've been following along on the Bible study and in our sermon series. I've been tracking kind of the same path. I did something different on Sunday morning, and I just kind of felt led to do an introductory one in the sermon. And who remembers what the sermon was about on Sunday morning? Anybody remember? Y'all didn't go to Dee Dee's page. She is the best sermon note taker in the business. And let me know what was the sermon about on Sunday?
Membership matters.
Membership matters. Tell me a little bit about the sermon, First Lady. Tell me about the sermon just from the standpoint of what you received and how you plan to respond.
Well, membership versus attendance is what we talked about, and those who simply attend are was likened to someone who is simply dating, whereas being a member is more like a couple who is actually married, and there is a covenant, a contract, an agreement. And I don't remember all of the points off the top of my head, but membership matters. It matters to God. It should matter to us. And therefore, we need to recommit ourselves to not only attending, but being members and serving as such.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so what was your, if it's not too personal, what was your um response to God? You shared what you received from God, but if it's not too personal, what was your response to God from the sermon?
Well, really, it was kind of for me, it was a response that was built upon by the previous sermons. And so the first thing that I need to do is be more intentional about talking to people about God, which is part of our theme, disciples making disciples. And then just making sure that I am more intentional about really even explaining to them the difference between attending and membership. So that was kind of where I was led, is that I need to be more intentional about witnessing to the goodness of God.
Oh, wonderful. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing. I see we got a couple more people that popped on Johnny. Good evening to you. Hopefully you are doing well. Glad you're with us. Let us know how you're doing, what your color is. Any other feedback? Did you want to share anything from the sermon on Sunday?
I pretty much agree with what Sister Sonia. That's what really stuck out, and what Brian and I discussed a lot of afterwards is just the difference between membership and attendance. We and how you really hone in on that, and I'm just praying and hoping that those who watch and those who were there really pay close attention to all the different factors that include that involves being a member, and not just coming to attend. That's how important that is too in their lives of Christians, is to be a part of a church. It's totally different than just attending the church.
Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for sharing. That is so incredible. And listen. Sometimes people don't remember uh when they get to the parking lot what the preacher talked about on
Mhm.
Sunday morning. And it's Wednesday, and you guys can and it's not so much that I would expect you to remember the whole preaching outline, but really about what was the main thing that you received from God. And
Mhm.
and then how does that translate into action? Good evening, Josie. Glad you are with us. You are green. Anyone else from Sunday morning, put it in the chat what you received from the sermon on membership. And that was an additional aspect that I felt led to preach on before we got into some of the things that we talked about last week in Bible study about our corporate purpose. And so that was kind of a bonus teaching, that sermon on Sunday morning about membership. So we've been unpacking our purpose. We unpacked it universally with the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. And then we started unpacking our purpose corporately through the local church. And I just need to give you a brief example of our universal mission. And this just happened to me last night. This just happened to me last night. So I went down to the Capitol yesterday afternoon to give testimony on one of the proposed bills in our state legislature. And this particular bill, I felt, as well as many other people, was extremely important to community. Uh, and it had to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so this proposed bill would eliminate DEI in state funded community colleges, and universities in the state of Nebraska. And I thought that that was worthy of me giving extra time. So I rolled down to Lincoln at 1:30, and when I got there, found out where it's difficult to park down there at the Capitol if you haven't been down there, and so I got in there about 1:30, and I got to where I was supposed to be, and I looked on the wall, and there were four other bills before they got to the bill that I was going to testify on. So I went and found the overflow room, and I'm just chilling, and it's 1:30, y'all. It's 1:30. And so when they got to our bill, it was 5. Now I thought I would be home by 5. But we didn't even get started till 5. And so the senator introduced the bill, and he talked for a good 10 minutes. And then everyone who's a proponent, everyone who's for this bill, if you want to come testify, uh, you've got your 3 minutes of fame before the education committee. And so it took them about 45 minutes, and then everyone who was against it, and there was probably a good 50, 60 people, y'all. A good 50, 60 people. And so by the time it was my turn to testify, it was, I don't know, 8:30. Approximately. I got there at 1:30, y'all. I thought I was gonna be down there for a couple hours. It was 8:30 by the time I got to my turn to testify. And so as I'm listening to all of these people give testimony about why the senator introduced the bill, and he talked why this bill why people are against it, they were given all of these reasons. And there were some factual reasons, and then there was some personal testimony. And I'm listening to all these things. And I had something I was going to say. And then the convention president, he had something, and he had to leave. And then I was going to read his letter that he wrote on behalf of the convention. But as I'm listening, I came to the conclusion, you know what? They need to hear from a pastor. They done heard from all the community people, and they didn't gave all their facts, and they've heard the passion of people who have been positively impacted by DEI, but they haven't heard a perspective from God. And so I started preparing myself, and I made some notes, and I talked to them about why I was against uh why I was against this bill. And for me, it boiled down to the Great Commandment. So before all of these senators in this education committee and this room full of people giving testimony, I told them ultimately that everybody deserved to be treated with love, dignity, and respect. And it is about transforming humanity by caring for the souls of all Nebraskans. And then I said to these senators, the Bible says the great commandment is to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. And it's no different from what I preached about the other Sunday. And it really wasn't too much different from some of the things I said when we take communion about everybody being loved and everybody being valued and um, uh, being treated with love, dignity, and respect. And I say all that to say this, that we've been talking about our purpose. And a part of our purpose is not just um, living within the confines of the church, but our purpose impacts us everywhere we go. And so, as I was down there doing um, the work of social justice, ultimately, my purpose came through, and I was able to speak on my purpose and making a connection between my activity outside of the church and my universal purpose, which is regardless of people, places, and locations, regardless of what church affiliation you're, and and that connection actually showed up in community. And so that's my story on purpose, how it showed up and how I was able to communicate that and to speak my purpose in settings outside of the local church. So, so yeah, what do you think about my purpose story? Pretty cool, huh? You can type it in the comments, or you can put it in the chat on Zoom, or you can unmute on Zoom. And do you see the connection? I guess ultimately is what I'm getting at. Do you see the connection of how purpose shows up in life? And sometimes it shows up outside of the context of the local church. Does that make sense? Do you see the connection? I got some head nods on Zoom. Let me know in the chat. And so as we can continue this journey, it's kind of good to see, kind of hear the stories of how purpose is shaping our lives and how on the fly I just reconstructed what I wanted to say, and I connected it to our purpose, not just my purpose, but really it was. And there were other people that I know were Christians, um, but I wanted to intentionally connect it not just with the topic matter, but how the topic matter ultimately was filtered through my universal purpose. So there you have it. That's my purpose story on tonight, and maybe we'll have some more purpose stories later on tonight, and as we continue in this study. So one other thing that I discovered as I was preparing, oh, we got some hearts. So people were able to make that connection. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to make the connection between these purposes that we've been studying and how they impact your life. And the more you can make those connections, the more you can live with purpose. And so good, 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 good. So I discovered that I'm going to make a brief revision to our purpose study because I believe that there is another level of purpose. There's we unpack it universally, corporately, and personally, but and I've really kind of alluded to it, but I need to make it a bigger deal, and that is we can unpack our purpose ultimately, not just personally, not just corporately, not just universally, but ultimately. And our ultimate purpose is to glorify God in all that we do. I talked about it in my sermon on Sunday, and just felt so strongly about it that I'm going to create another circle outside of the universal circle you see there. So I'm gonna do some tweaking, and ultimately everything that we do ought to be done to glorify God. And so our universal purpose is um, aligned with glorifying God, and our corporate purpose within the mission and vision and plans of the church, and then how that fleshes out personally. And so there's just another layer. Um, and so there you have it. And so I won't go back and reteach that. I'm going to just change it in our documentation. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you all. Um, so let's get to where we left off, and we've talked about the Great Commandment and the Great Commission, and we've had some conversations about that. And so now we are at our corporate purpose, and how there is a connection between our universal purpose to fulfill the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. And we do that to glorify God, our ultimate purpose. And that really, it is the local church, I believe, that helps us, as I shared in my sermon on Sunday, to connect our purposes, to understand that they are all in alignment. Reverend Nelson's Aunt Johnny says, remember our covenant promise and purpose. Yes, ma'am. Much needed for our hearing and thought process. Good. I'm glad that's helpful. Reverend Nelson, it's awesome to see how we can utilize these principles of our purpose in other areas of our lives. Yes, and I hope you're making that connection, not just for the sake of our understanding and for the sake of study, but that our lives begin to line up with our purposes. And amazing things happen when that takes amazing things happen when that takes place. So we talked about mission. Our mission is to passionately love God and to give glory to his name through the worship, work, and witness of this church, to compassionately love others with the same godly love that was demonstrated to us by our Lord Jesus Christ, and to effectively share the good news of God's love with our families, our community, with others throughout the world by the power and aid of the Holy Spirit. One other thing about the connecting of that purpose is that was not I wasn't necessarily representing the Antioch Baptist Church per se, is because that universal purpose exists regardless of what, if I'm part of a local church or if I'm not, if I'm part of this church or I'm part of that church. So it's important to understand that that purpose was universal. It was not tied to Antioch particularly, because as a believer, um, the great commandment guides me no matter what. So that's the final thought. So now we're talking about our corporate purpose as we filter that not only through the mission of the church, but through the vision. And so we're going to have a conversation about vision and connect the vision of the church to purpose. And the vision of the Antioch Baptist Church, disciples making disciples. And so just here's my just kind of opening thought. When as our mission is being fulfilled, to love God and passionately love him, compassionately love others, and effectively share the good news of God's love, when we do that in the context of the Antioch Baptist Church, what will that look like? What is the ultimate destination? Mission answers the question why we exist, and vision says, what does that look like? When we get there, when we're humming on all cylinders, when we see the mission of the church being fulfilled, paint a picture so that we can all get on board, and this future destination of what it has to be. And so when we say disciples making disciples, we're painting a picture of the future. This is the destination. When we arrive at where God is leading us as a church, these words ought to paint a picture that we can see what that looks like and envision the possibilities of that future at the Antioch Baptist Church. And so, disciples making disciples. Here's the question. Here's the question. What do you observe in that vision statement? What stands out the most to you? Disciples making disciples. What do you see? What stands out? What do you observe just looking at it? For me, one of the first things that I observe is how short it is. Which kind of adds to its, I don't know, simplicity. It's not complicated. That's one of the things that I observe when I see that vision, disciples making disciples. So go ahead and write it in the chat. What do you observe? What stands out the most to you when you see that vision, disciples making disciples? Or if you're on the Zoom, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and tell me what stands out the most to you with that vision statement, disciples making disciples. To me, how short and simple it is, easy to understand.
I agree about the short and simple. Many times I've seen vision statements and they're these long, drawn out paragraphs and stories even. And so if I were a member of that organization and someone asked me what was our vision, what was our mission statement, that kind of thing, I'd be like, I don't know. But this makes it easy. Disciples making disciples. I can remember it. It's easy to understand. It's easy to just share with somebody else what our vision actually is.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think so, and I feel like that helps us to create a picture. My picture might look different than your picture, but I'm hoping that it's a relatable concept that can be translated by everybody. Paint that picture of the Antioch Baptist Church where disciples are making disciples. Yeah. It's short, it's simple. It's not a difficult concept to grasp. Um, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? Put them in the chat. If you're on the Zoom, you can unmute or you can type them in the Zoom chat. Um, just in terms of the first question, the first set of questions, what do you observe and um, what stands out the most with disciples making disciples? The next set of questions are reflective questions as we reflect upon that vision. We want to try to wrestle with how has this vision impacted your life? Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. Um, how has disciples making disciples impacted your life? Or what questions or concerns do you have? Maybe the first one first. How has this vision statement had any impact on anybody's life? Type it in the comments. If you're on Zoom, you can unmute. Has this vision statement had any impact? Has it collided with your existence?
It's who we are as Christians, and that's what we should be doing on our daily lives. And so it's easy to remember. It's easy to remember because it's what we do, and that's who we are.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you for sharing that. That that's a great reflection. I think that's also that kind of gets into the interpretive questions as well. Why is it so important? Because it's who we are. Let's see. We got a comment in the chat. Convicts me to be more intentional. Oh, there's a good impact. Um, to be more intentional about making disciples. That is a good um, reflection. Thank you guys for sharing. Um, questions or concerns about the church vision? Yeah, I have a similar concern of the vision that I had with the mission, and it kind of goes like this. If everyone doesn't see themselves in as a part of the vision, as Didi says, our ability to make that a reality becomes more challenging. And that's a concern. Or a question might be, is everyone on the same page about what a disciple is? That could be a question too. Lakana says, I'm now always looking for opportunities to bring it to God. That's a impact response. Thank you for sharing. That is wonderful. Josie says it has for me as it makes me more conscious. Con see. This is one of those words that always gives me trouble. It has for me as it makes me more conscious of my actions. There we go. I said it right. Wow, what a reflection. Makes me more conscious of my actions. Always looking for opportunities to bring it to God. Convicts me to be more intentional about making disciples. I think for me, it's impacted me about being more intentional to um, create an atmosphere where that happens. That's one of the ways it's impacted me. Um, I think also it challenges a mindset, and it could challenge an unhealthy culture that puts everything on the pastor or a few people and not the whole. And to know that the vision means that all of us are disciples and all of us should be making disciples says to me, I need to create an atmosphere to the extent that the Lord allows me as pastor where this can actually happen and not say it and then structure the church uh, against it. And so um, one of the ways that this is shown up practically is through the establishment of our life groups. That when we met on Tuesdays during the pandemic to pray, and as wonderful as a time as it was an incredible time. It was not translating throughout the membership. And I needed to create a different structure so that what was happening in our gathering on Tuesday, and it was largely the same people from Tuesday to Wednesday, how can that help us to make disciples throughout the congregation and not just those that were in that one group? And so the life groups is a clear example of that vision impacting us such so that we got to restructure how we do things. And one group does not disciples make disciples. There's got to be many, and those that are being discipled in that one group then have to go out and disciple others. And then from those groups, there can be others. And so that is probably the clearest thing, um, the one clearest thing. And then the other is learning not to put all of the pressure on myself for the growth of the church. That the people have to see themselves. Not only do I have to structure it, but the people have got to embrace it. And those things begin to be the focus of my efforts, not just my own individual efforts. And um, sometimes that's challenging because sometimes it goes against um, uh, that can go against what pastors think internally, or it can go against the expectations of the pastor by the congregation. Um, so those are some reflections to me on how it's impacted, and um, what question have I done enough to help us to see what a disciple looks like? Do I need to be doing more? Um, so that do I need to be more intentional in my teaching and preaching and how we structure things so that um, it's clear that this is what it is, and this is what God has called us to, and this is what we're accountable to, and this is how. And so, those are some questions and concerns. Have I done enough? Um, as I reflect on the vision of church, I see evidence, but is it enough? That's what I think about sometimes, with regard to the vision. Because I desire, and I hope everyone else who embraces the vision desires to see everyone see themselves as a disciple and everyone engaged in the process of making disciples. And I don't think we're there yet. I think we're far away, but I think we're more than where we were. Um, Somewhere in the middle. I don't know if it's in the middle, but we're we've made progress, with our intentional efforts. Um, but I don't see it. Um, I don't see that everybody sees themselves as a disciple, and I certainly don't see everyone engaging. And not that I have to see it all, but there's got to be some corporate signs. You know, that's why we have systems and processes and ministries and um, so yeah, those are my reflections on the vision. So let's move to the next set, which has to do with interpretation. Why is this vision so important? Didi said, because that's who we are, and that's what we're called to do. And that suggests to me that we are making progress. You, Didi, to just automatically make the connection. This is who we are. This is, without using the word, you described purpose. This is our corporate purpose. Um, our corporate purpose is not to preach, is not to sing. Our corporate purpose is not to do media ministry. Our corporate purpose is not to engage in Bible study or Sunday school. Our corporate purpose is to make disciples. Not the means to the end is not our purpose. The end is to make disciples. And boy, it's so important. I agree with you, Didi. It is the ultimate end of our corporate existence. It is a measurement of our effectiveness as a local body of believers. Not how many people, not how much money is in the bank, not how big the building is, but are the people reproducing? Are they growing? And are those people helping others? That's that's it. Um, that's why it's so important. I think another reason it is so important because God never intended for the few to do the work of many. There would be an imbalance of effort and intentionality if we had a disciple making ministry that you joined instead of everybody seeing it as a part of the vision of the church. We don't need a disciple making ministry. It's the vision is so important because if everyone doesn't engage in it, it's going to be less effective and it's going to drain the few. Anjani says, our command. Thank you for sharing that. That's a strong statement. So it's who we are, it's what we've been commanded to do. It's so important because it involves everybody and not just the few. Any other thoughts about interpreting our vision? As to why it's so important? Um, what about what changes do you need to make individually, corporately? I always ask myself, am I doing enough? Like I can't make people embrace the vision, but I can write it and make it plain. Um, I can put it before the people.
Isn't that a quote that you just who said that?
Habakkuk.
Yes. Is it write a vision, make it plain or something like that? What is it?
Yes, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2.
Ah, okay. Yes.
Yes, that is a direct quote from scripture.
Mhm.
Write the vision, make it plain so the people can run with it.
Yeah. Okay. Good night. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, so what changes? Am I putting it before the people enough? Um, am I doing my part? Uh, sometimes I think I need to get a big old sign in the sanctuary and hang it on the walls that says our mission so that people can literally see it with their eyes every time they walk in the building. And maybe I need to act on that and get a banner in the building to remind people every time they walk in the doors and see that so maybe I need to make it more visible as I'm reflecting on what changes I need to make corporately. Maybe I need to make it more visible. Put it on more of our literature. This digital age, we have less literature, but maybe I need to put it on more literature, um, more of our social stuff, so that it is more. The vision needs to be more. I think I need to make the vision more visible. Yeah. Some of the comments already were about what changes they need to make. Let me go back. Be more conscious of my actions, looking for opportunities to bring things to God, be more intentional about making disciples. Some of those reflective questions also, I think, would apply to what changes do you need to make? Um, so yeah, okay, commitment. I need to make our vision statement more visible, and I'm committed to doing that corporately. I need to make our vision statement more. Get it? The vision needs to be more.
I see t-shirts.
Some t-shirts. Yeah, maybe I should get some t-shirts. We
Mhm.
got the t-shirt lady on the Zoom. The t-shirt lady is on the Zoom. We need to make the vision more visual.
Thank you, Lord.
Um, so yep. I'm gonna talk to the t-shirt lady. Well, actually, I'm talking to her right now. Hey, t-shirt lady, we need to get some t-shirts and something to put on some polos that we can make the vision more visible. So I'm committed to do it. I'm committed to doing it. I'm gonna think about maybe a banner or something like that, and um, get some graphic design work done to make the vision more visual. So that's corporately. Um, I'm going to be more intentional about the structures in the church that are designed to make this our vision and not just the vision of a few people. I need to talk more about ALGs on Sunday morning and um, not allow the discouragement of the lack of response to prevent me from continuing to do that work. Because sometimes the lack of response uh, can be draining and uh, it can be discouraging to me personally. Um, yeah. Lakana says, didn't our banners up front? I read that. No, they were like it was like a Bible. It was like God's love letters or something like that. And now up front, us through our media department, um, our smart TVs are being hung and so I still need a maybe we can use the walls or something like that. So yeah, making it more visual. Um,
Pastor.
yes.
I think what Nakana is saying, because I was thinking the same thing. There was, when you first started talking about disciples making disciples, we had those banners
Oh
up
yeah,
there.
there was over the baptismal. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Because Cynthia made it for pastor
right.
anniversary. We sure did.
Yes. Yep.
We sure did. We sure did. Um, um, maybe I'll see if that's still there, and we can rehang that. That's right. That's right. You guys are right. It was right over the baptismal, making it more visible. Yeah, acknowledging the discouragement that comes, but not allowing the discouragement to prevent me from continuing to talk about our strategies to make the vision a reality. Yeah. Any other commitments? Any other commitments to um, our vision? Any other commitments? You can type them in the chat, or if you're in the Zoom, you can unmute or put them in the Zoom chat. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. I don't think that I am. Okay. Uh, so yeah, it is a part of our purpose. This corporate vision is directly connected to the Great Commission. What Jesus told us to do to make disciples, regardless of what church we're in, directly. I mean, there is no shame in my game. I intentionally made a clear and obvious connection to from the Great Commission to the vision of Antioch. Um, and I don't know, maybe some marketing person would suggest that maybe they should be slightly different or something, but I don't know. Maybe I wasn't that sophisticated. I just kind of wanted to keep it simple. And if we see that, we can strive toward it. And that's a part of our purpose. And so my prayer is that we would begin to see our purpose at Antioch of making disciples and commit to the things that help us accomplish those ends. And so most of you are either um, ALG facilitators or members of an ALG. And so that means we need to be more intentional about those strategies and connect them to our purpose, realizing that the response of those is ultimately between that individual and the Lord, but to continue to be faithful to say, if we're going to become a church of disciples, making disciples at Antioch, well, what does that look like? Well, that looks like our individual behavior. That looks like small group behavior. That looks like our corporate behaviors through worship and outreach and that looks like our outreach stuff outside of that, and all of these different strategies that we have are a part of our disciple making strategies. And if that's our vision, then we've got to ensure that our strategies are leading there, and we've got to continue to be faithful in those and encourage people to engage in the strategies. And it's one thing to say, yep, that's a great sermon. That's what the Bible says. It's a whole nother thing to join the ALG, because that's how we we get to our vision at Antioch. And we've got corporate strategies in place. And that's why we come to Wednesday nights before the first Sunday, because it helps us to grow as disciples and it prepares us to make disciples of others through creating the environment of care, which the work of discipleship um, can flourish and thrive. And that's why you need to be there. Um, and which kind of goes back to the sermon on Sunday, which is why membership matters. We're not going to get there without corporate strategies. And so to say this is our vision is also to say, and we're going to engage in our corporate strategies to help get us there. And so, to those of you on the Zoom and to those of you on the live, the majority of you are already a part of the corporate strategies toward the vision. I want to say to you all that you are, in a very real sense, committed to the vision, because you can tie it to the corporate actions and strategies of the church that are designed to help us get there. And that is a place of acknowledgement, and it ought to be, yeah, it ought to be acknowledged um, that there are people at the Antioch Baptist Church that are committed to the vision because we see it in their corporate behavior. We see it in Sunday school. We see it in ALGs. We see it in Wednesday night Bible study. We see it in quarterly community uh, uh, service outreaches. We see it in Angel Tree. We see it in the garden, and we see all of these things help us not only to become disciples, but are opportunities that we can make disciples of others. And when you engage in those activities, you're engaging in the vision. And so that helps us to see that we're on the right track. And so we need to pray and encourage and set an example for others. And I'll leave you with one of the strategies that my wife in her entrepreneurial work has shared that has really resonated with me lately. And sometimes all you need is you, the new, and the few. And we can start a movement toward the vision of the church of disciples making disciples with you, the new, and the few. So be encouraged. God can do great things with small beginnings. Let's be faithful to the vision of the church. And over time, let's continue to trust God, and we'll see. Make sure our strategies are leading us in the right direction, and see if we can see more people this year engaged in being disciples and making disciples of others. So that's our study tonight. The next time we gather, we'll begin to talk about some of the corporate plans of the church. We've got a mission and we've got a vision, and then we got to have plans to help us get there. So that's where we're going. May the peace of God be unto each of you. All righty. Good evening.